Last week, Civilization VII released a new Civilization game in the Civilization franchise, and it's going to add more civs to your civ. And yeah, it's overall kind of a mess. I have been playing Civilization for a long time, so when I heard a new Civilization game was coming, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna buy that immediately. Well, not immediately. I mean, I didn't want to spend $99.99 or $129.99 for advanced access. So I bought the regular version, which is still $69.99. This game is very different from any of its predecessors, and it's very much like some of the competition. Now, I don't believe really that you can steal things, steal mechanics, or copy mechanics. I think you can be inspired. A lot of people have been suggesting that Civilization VII basically copied Humankind's homework because of the big mechanic that they share. Normally in a Civilization game, you play one civilization from the ancient era up until the end of the game, or the future era, and every era in between. You pick a leader, that leader has a country or a civilization tied to it, and you play it for the whole game. A few years ago, Humankind released, and it had a different mechanic. It borrowed all of Civilization's good ideas, and then it had the mechanic where every era you switch to a different civilization, and that is the thing that, whether they stole it, copied it, were inspired by it, or came up with that idea independently, that Firaxis decided to also put in Civilization VII. Oh my god, that's dramatic. The problem with it is that it didn't really work in Humankind. It's fun for 1 or 2 games, and then it becomes very boring. And when I tell you that it grinds the momentum of the game to a shocking halt, the one-turn syndrome exists because the momentum of the game keeps pushing you to do one more turn. Like, I need 3 more turns to develop this technology, and then I can put something else in place, or I can start building a wonder, and then you keep going and keep going and keep going. In Civilization VII, there are 3 ages. There's the Ancient Age, there's the Exploration Age, and there's the Modern Age. I'm pretty sure they're going to add more ages with DLC, because Firaxis and Civilization have about the same strategy as the Sims games with that. You know, strip your new sequel bare and add it in DLC, but I digress. 3 ages. At the end of every age, you have to switch to a different civilization. No longer can you just play one from beginning to end, or even win at an earlier stage in the game, but I'll get to that. At the end of every age, you get prompted to switch your civilization to a civilization that lines up with the leader that you've chosen, or a civilization that lines up with the previous civilization you had, and or you need to have completed some prerequisites. You can't switch randomly like in Humankind, which is very funny, but you have to, like, there has to be some overlap. The reason why this doesn't really work is, for one, it grinds the momentum of the game to a halt. Usually, if you're building momentum in the game by doing, like, researching things, building things, you get to a point where everything is short, so you want to keep playing. When you get to the point where you switch civs, it's almost as if you're playing a new game on top of the old game. So it's like you're on the same map, but everything that isn't ageless gets wiped out. Wars stop existing. You get to retain, I think, 6 units, and buildings that aren't tied to the age stop having any usefulness. So when you switch from one age to the next, it's almost like you're starting the game over, which is good in a sense that it's a natural stopping point, but it is a stopping point. In previous Civilization games, and even in Humankind, you start in the ancient times and you can see the whole technology tree and the whole civic tree from the dawn of mankind, basically, until the internet. Like, you can go from the beginning of time until future era. In Civilization VII, you can go from the ancient time till the beginning of the exploration age, which is, I think, lines up almost with the Renaissance times in older Civilization games. I think it's impossible to win the game at an earlier stage than going through all of the ages. The way to win Civilization VII basically is to get to the modern age and then get to the finish line at the end of the modern age the quicker than anyone else. You don't need to have any head starts in the other ages. The advantage of being better than the opponents in the earlier ages is that you get to pick attributes to give to your leader. But I don't know, I haven't tested how much of a difference this makes, or if you have to be really good at the modern era of the game, basically. I will say that Civilization VII is more accessible and less overwhelming than other Civilization games. I think this is because you're locked in a certain age, and you don't really have to have like this macro overview of, oh, I'm gonna win this way. So, like for instance, if you're doing a science victory in older Civ games, you need to kind of know where you want to go by the end. But in this game, you can basically meander about for 90% of the game, because you can't really go further in the science in the technology tree than is allowed by your age, which also makes it more boring. Civilization VII is overall a mess, and that's not just because of the mechanic that doesn't really work. It's also that the UI is so bad that it often fails to tell you what you need to know, or just directs you at information badly. My example for this is that the game often tells you, pick a town specialization. When you click this button, it opens a menu, and yes, at the top it says town focus, which is a different word than specialization, by the way. And then below that, there's a screen where you can buy buildings that you can put in your town. It took me an embarrassingly long time to realize that when they say pick a town specialization, they meant this thing at the top here, not build a building in this city. I, for the first maybe 5 hours of playing this game, was just clicking at the largest part of the screen thinking, okay, I guess I'll put another building there. Religion in this Civ game is stupid. The missionaries are really bad or really good at converting your cities. If you're not pumping out missionaries in every city all the time, the opponents will just convert all your cities every other turn. Converting cities requires you to convert both the urban and the rural centers. Rural juror.
The rural juror has a limited release next week.
Rural centers, which is impossible to tell on the map which is which. I still don't know. I've actually tried moving missionaries to several spots in the map, hoping that that was a rural center. Rural, oh god, that's a tough word to say. Rural.
Ah, the rural juror.
Non-populated, less populated farmland, and the button that tells you to like spread your religion didn't work on any of the tiles, so I don't know what I was doing wrong. Okay, but how do you just like double click? Yeah, okay, no. Yeah, my main point is I didn't want to do a review on this game, but I kind of accidentally did. Probably don't buy this game. It's just very disappointing. It's just a disappointing game.